Hi, I'm Cheryl and welcome to the Sewing Room channel. Here's some more tips of the week for you. The first one I'm going to talk about are rotary cutters. Well, so let's take a look at some of these rotary cutters. There's a variety of sizes. This is an 18 millimeter, a 45, and a 60. If you're a beginner, this is the one I recommend you buy, the 45 millimeter. It is the most affordable. It may come with 1 or 2 blades. The really major cost is the blades. They're very, very expensive, especially if you're using the large one. Because I do so much cutting, I use this one, because it's got a larger area, as my husband would say, the scientist, surface area. So it's going to last longer than the blades on here. But these blades are very expensive. This one here, the 18 millimeter, I hardly ever use it, and I found it hard to find the blades. That's probably one of the reasons. I would only use this if I was going to cut something really tiny. This I use for cutting larger pieces. If I'm doing a lot of cutting that day, if I'm cutting out squares for a big quilt, this is the one I'm going to go to because it's going to last me and it's just so much more efficient. I store my rotary cutters in the little cases that they come in. So when I get a new case, I mark on it new. And then once I start using them, you don't want to just throw the blade in your regular trash can, because someone's going to reach in that trash can and cut themselves. Because even after they're worn down, they're still extremely sharp. So I put them in another older case and I mark old. So I have old and new for each size. I've had a lot of viewer questions lately about using your rulers versus using your cutting mat. How do you place the ruler on the lines on your cutting mat? All kinds of little questions. So I use a large cutting mat like this. There's also controversy about using the plastic versus the self-healing cutting mat. I don't have any problems with these plastic ones. My blades still last a long time. But here's an acrylic ruler, which I use all the time. So you have the edge of your acrylic ruler here. Then you have the lines on your cutting mat. One of the reasons people have problems with cutting out their squares and rectangles and always each one coming out exactly the same size, because they're probably not placing their ruler the same way every time they cut. So here's what I'm looking at. Here's the edge of my ruler. Here's a line on my cutting mat, right in here, okay? Some people like to push their ruler up right next to the line. They still see the line. Okay, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Others like to just cover the edge up just a little bit where they don't see the line at all. And then others like to bring their ruler out past the line going in the other direction. It doesn't matter which one you pick. What matters is that you do it the same way every single time you put your ruler down. That way, if you're cutting out a 6.5 inch square, it's going to come out 6.5 inch square. So you want to make sure how you place the ruler. So let me show you how I go about cutting a piece of fabric. I'm going to show you how to cut out a 2.5 inch wide strip. It doesn't matter the size of the strip I'm cutting out. It can be any size you want. So here's the 0 line on my cutting mat. And I'm going to take the raw edge of my fabric, and I've got my fabric folded in half from selvage edge to selvage edge. Whenever you buy fabric, it's never cut straight, it's never folded straight, it's usually a mess. So it's up to you to cut that first edge straight. That's real important. So I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to place it right on that 0 line. You also want to make sure your fabric, this folded edge, is going on a line going across this way. This is real important also. So then you would just press down on your ruler, and everybody has their own way of doing this. This is how I do it. All right, so I'm pressing down and I'm making my first cut. Then I'm moving my hand, making my next cut. Then I'm making my last cut. Now I don't know if there it is, it did cut. I think I needed to change my blade. So now I want to just move my ruler over 2.5 inches. So my 2.5 inch mark's right up here, so I know where that is. And I also want to check down here at the bottom. So I'm making sure that the ruler is lined up down there too. So now I know everything is straight. And now I'm going to do the same thing. So now I'm going to show you how to take this strip and cut it into 2.5 inch squares. Here's the selvage edges. I have them down here, and again I've pulled it past the 0 line. And I've made sure it's going straight across on one of the lines on the cutting mat. Now I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to cut the selvage edges off, and I want to make sure. Now my lines match the lines on my cutting mat perfectly. So that's how I know my lines or my edges are going to be straight. So cut it off. Now to cut out a bunch of 2.5 inch squares, don't move your fabric. Lift your ruler, go over to the 2.5 inch line. And always take your time lining up the ruler and cut. Now don't move your fabric. Lift and go over 2.5 inches more, which is on the number 5. Once you've done this a lot, you don't even have to think about it. And now I'm going to go over 2.5 inches more and cut another set. And you keep going on down the strip until you have everything cut out. And that's how you can quickly cut out squares for any quilting project that you're making. Whenever I change the blade on my rotary cutter, especially if I've done a lot of cutting that day, I just turn it over. So you unscrew it and take this part off and set it aside. And then here is this little washer, and you'll see that it's bent. Don't try to straighten it out. I tried to do that one time and it wouldn't straighten out. It's not supposed to be straight. So then I'm going to flip it over and the blade comes off. So you've got this piece on there like that. I usually take a pair of tweezers and lift it up and carry it over to my little case of old blades. Then I put another one on. But before you put another one on, your rotary cutter does get dirty. So I just take either a little tissue or some little old cloth and wipe it off. Your blades are also very oily, so they do leave a lot of residue on all of this. And they need the oil on the blade so that it doesn't rust. So it's always important to clean every time you change the blade. Otherwise, after a while, you've just got all kinds of stuff growing out of your rotary cutter. Well, I hope this information was helpful to you. If you're interested in watching other tips of the week, and I have quite a few, then check below your YouTube screen for those video links. Also, if you're interested in learning some beginning sewing projects, then also look for that link below your YouTube screen. Thank you so much for coming by. I'll see you next time, and happy sewing. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please click on the thumbs up button, and don't forget to click on share to share this video with your friends. If you haven't subscribed yet, click on that red subscribe button down there in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. click on the bell so you can receive notifications about my latest videos. I'm Cheryl, and this is Scotty, and this is Manny. See you next time, and happy sewing!